Alright, it's been a while since I've done one of these videos, so forgive me if I'm a bit rusty. Recently I watched a video about a guy that wants to boycott a new game that's coming out, Atomic Heart. Maybe you've heard of it, maybe not, doesn't really matter. What does matter though is while I was watching the video I found numerous errors that I believe should be brought to light. Now, before I go further into this video, I just want to make it clear that I am here to criticize this guy's opinions and not him as a person. I'm not insulting him, nor am I harassing him. He has opened a discussion and I would like to pursue this discussion in a civil matter. The reason for this is because what he is saying doesn't just affect this new game, it kind of affects gaming as a whole. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. And as a gamer, I think more opinion should be added to this discussion in a fair way to fully realize what this guy is saying. Ultimately, we are talking about a game here. This isn't someone's political opinion. This isn't how someone views the world or believe how the world should be run. It is a game, and the purpose of a game is just to have fun. But I digress. So now let me tell you how I'm gonna do this video. If you haven't noticed, I'm quite a small channel, I'm just doing this for fun really. And well, there has been quite a few people that weren't shy of using the copyright system to take down fair criticism recently. So what I'm gonna do, instead of showing clips of the video, I'm just gonna summarize and paraphrase some of the points he makes in this video, then I'm gonna give my opinion on them. I will link the full video in the description though if you are curious, and or you think I'm being disingenuous, you can go double check for yourself. So with that out of the way, I hope you enjoyed the gameplay in the background and let's get started. So the video has a pretty good start with the guy talking about the nuking of Hiroshima during World War II and basically claiming that there was a board game made about it where the US fought Japan, there were nukes used as dice in the game. It's a pretty good start, I would say. But then he derailed so fucking fast and it is not in a blaze of glory. He claims that if you're still going to buy Hogwarts Legacy, despite its infamy, then this video is not made for you. Well shit, if you wanted my attention in the first 2 minutes, you've got it. First up, what happened to Hogwarts Legacy? It's bullshit. If you want to criticize a game, then criticize the game, not the politics around it. But this isn't the last time Hogwarts Legacy will pop its head out in this video, so let's move on for now, shall we? So credit where it's due, he says all revenue generated by this video is going to Ukraine charities, and that is a very noble thing to do. I tip my hat to you, good sir, much respect. But let's see how long that respect will last. He starts off with part 1, the basics. He just essentially describes the game, what it's about, when it's gonna release, the fact that in marketing it's been quite popular recently, which is in part why I'm making this video, because I myself have been looking forward to this game. I'm a massive fan of the Metro series, I love BioShock, and I've been waiting for something similar to this. But swiftly he moves on to part 2, the developers. And here is where some of the problems start showing. He basically gives context to the studio, when they were made, where they were located, and he really puts emphasis on the fact that they're trying to distance themselves from Russia. And I mean, can you really blame them for that? People are going absolutely apeshit when they hear the word Russian these days. It is like they have the inability to separate the Russian people from the Russian military. Oh, is that foreshadowing maybe? Anyway, he keeps going until he shows a tweet of the developers. Essentially it says they are a pro-peace organization and they are against the violence against people. In the replies they have added that they have no comment on politics or religion. And holy shit, did this guy take offense to this. He's basically claiming that it's impossible that they don't have an opinion on politics because they are making a game that is pro-communist, USSR renewal, all that dumb shit. Allow me to put this in the simplest way I can think of. The game you play or develop does not equal your opinion. Recently actually I've been replaying Dragon Age Origins, for example. I started out a new game as a rogue elf female, and holy shit is it harsh. There are people who are racist against you, people who think because you're a woman you can't fight, all that kind of 1960s dumb fuck. There is a lot of racism and sexism in Dragon Age Origins, but it adds to the world. It makes it more believable in that sense. This isn't just your average fairy tale world that's all sunshine and rainbows. No, this is realistic. But what point am I making out of this? Well, to put it plain, according to this guy, because all those things are in Dragon Age, the developers, BioWare, are in turn sexist and racist themselves. If you don't see what's wrong with a thought process like this, then I will pray that you meet Jesus one day. I am completely against the idea that the games you play reflect your opinion. I mean, that is kind of the point of a game, is it not? To do things you would normally not do. If I want to go and be an asshole to everyone in the game, then I wouldn't go and do it in real life now, would I? There's a barrier there where my real life self is separated from my gaming self. Like in Fallout New Vegas, for example, I'm one of the guys that believe that Caesar would have been a fantastic rule for the wasteland. Would I think the same in a real life scenario, to revive ancient Rome as it once was, to rule the earth or a nation, for example? Of course I wouldn't, that's fucking ridiculous. But yeah, the ultimate point I am making here is that opinion does not equal your game, and vice versa. Now, I can't help but notice this next part. He talks about how the developer's response to criticism was just to remove the criticism, aka silencing people China style. But when we scroll down just a little bit in the video and go to the comments, what is this? Hey, unfortunately I am forced somewhat to limit comments as they are currently being buttered by more faceless newly made accounts that anyone could ever realistically keep up with. And strangely enough, when we scroll down just a little bit more, you'll notice for some reason there isn't a lot of comments that seem to criticize his points. And I mean like properly criticize it. Not just going in there and starting to throw insults. They are either neutral comments or comments that are completely on his side. Hey, this is Bryce from the future. And I'd just like to add something that I don't really think I emphasized enough in the original recording of the video. And that is of course the fact that this guy removes comments but then shames the developers because they also removed comments from their Twitter. Now in the video I just mentioned how hypocritical it is for this guy to also remove comments. But after taking a second look, holy shit. This video, as of recording this section, has 1.7 million views, but only 117 comments? Are you seriously telling me, of all 1.7 million people that watch this video, not a single person managed to create an argument that was worthy enough for you to respond instead of just removing them? It's like, no, I clearly smell some bullshit here. This is absolutely fucking insane. How the hell does this guy think he has the moral high ground? But yeah, now that I've brought attention to that, that's all I really wanted to say. Anyway, back to the normal video. So I can't help but smell a little bit of irony here. Essentially shaming the developers because they're removing comments, but then going and doing the same thing because it's bots. Yeah, I'm 100% sure everyone agrees with you, pal. I'm sorry if that was a bit mean, but I really just can't stand people who are disingenuous and or hypocritical. And now next on his shit list, he's aiming at the CEO of the company. I don't know if it's just me, but it seems like he's trying to put emphasis on the fact that he changed his name. Whether or not that's true, I'll leave it up for you to decide. But to me, I don't think it's a big deal. People change their names every day for several reasons. Considering the fact that I can't even pronounce his original surname, I think it's safe to say why. Also, when you take into consideration that the company wanted to be more international than just Russian based. Next, he sets his scope on, well, the founder of the company, and God, I'm not gonna try pronouncing that name. Just go watch the video yourself. You'll know it when you see it. So not only was she the founder of this company, but she was also a model, and she owns a modeling company. The point he is making out of all of this is that she's the founder of this company, she owns another company, and that other company she owns is now in charge of several other companies that are pro-Russian. Yes, you heard me right. The founder of this company owns other companies that are pro-Russian, essentially. So I think you can start to see where the pieces is falling together. You buy this game, you support this woman indirectly, you support her companies indirectly, you are pro-Russian. Except for that last part, you're not indirectly pro-Russian, no, you're directly pro-Russian. This is almost one for one what happened with Hogwarts Legacy, and I told you that game would come back. But goddamn, I think even Stretch Armstrong is blushing seeing how far this guy is reaching. Anyway, now that we're done with that part, the developers, we're moving on to part 3, the marketing. Now he talks about when this game was developed. I think say it was 7 years ago. First trailer dropped in 2017 and people could pre-order it back then. And he does rightfully call them out, saying they shouldn't have made the game being available to pre-order so early, and I think that is really fair. Personally, I'm skeptical of basically any game that doesn't release any gameplay footage. And considering they just put out a 2-minute teaser and then immediately you could pre-order the game, I can see why a lot of people would think that is shady. And I really don't have a lot to add here. He's making sense, he's calling bullshit where it should be called out. And overall part 3, it's fair. What more can I say? Now part 4, economics. Now this is where we start putting our hands back into the pile of shit. And honestly, I think this is where most of the problems in the video start to show. He starts by listing the antagonists of this anime arc. There are 3 he focuses on: Gem Capital, Tencent, and Gaijin Entertainment. Now, I wasn't expecting to hear Gaijin Entertainment in this video because I have actually played some of their games, Enlisted being quite a recent one I've been enjoying. It's a World War II shooter, really good. But he does the same thing that he did with the Atomic Heart developer, saying that they were once in Russia, then they moved someplace else to avoid controversy and continue their operations. And this is yet another hint that this guy doesn't really separate the Russian people from the Russian military. And in my opinion, that is a completely unfair argument to make. It is not the people who want the war. In fact, there are Russian people who protest the war. But he goes on to say that head of PR in Gaijin Entertainment went to illegally visit the Ukrainian Chimera, which is occupied by Russia at the moment, and has repeatedly supported the Russian politics. Now, I couldn't really find anything about him saying he supports Russian politics. I might have just looked at the wrong spots. Take that as you will. But I will say it was a bit challenging to find this guy in the first place because he's misspelled in the video. And either way, if he did or didn't do it, it's his fucking business. If he wants to be a dumbass and think Russia is right for doing everything they're doing, that's on him. I should also add that I don't know where he got the information about this guy visiting the Ukrainian Chimera. I tried googling it and I couldn't find anything about it, and the articles he lists in the description, they're all in Russian, so it's hard for me to make out. But from what I can see, there's nothing really about him or him visiting the Chimera in Ukraine. I'm not sure why he would lie about this. I'm pretty sure he's not. It would would be really douchey thing to lie about, but I'm gonna take it with a grain of salt for now. And next he puts his scope on Gem Capital. You've heard the song and dance before. Owner of the company, owns oil company, super rich, invests in things. You buy the game, you invest in him, he just goes, gets more oil, gets more rich, makes the world a worse place. You know how it works. But here we go again. I've got that feeling inside of me. He's putting so much emphasis on the fact that he's Russian and that he owns Russian companies, as if this guy was in a character creation screen at birth and decided to be born in Russia, like he had the hindsight of seeing that the country he lives in is about to wage a war to their neighboring country. Next up he goes to the publishers that agreed to sign on with this game. And don't worry about Tencent, I didn't forget, I'm keeping them for later. So he focuses on the publisher called VK Play, who apparently works really close with Russian politics, government, all that stuff. And he makes the argument that if you buy the game, you support the VK Play, they get more money, they give more money to the government gives the money to the war efforts, and so it goes on. So again, using every single stretch he has in his body, he tries to guilt trip you into not buying this game. And I think this is a really unhealthy way of looking at just about everything. I mean, you can literally use this argument for almost anything you buy. I mean, let's take a really basic example, just something I quickly thought of. So I want to buy a bag of Doritos. Just normal Doritos, bag of chips, good shit, but I can't do that. If I buy the chips here in my country, then eventually some of that money is gonna go to America. Eventually the money will find its way back to the company where it originated from. And considering Doritos is an international company, obviously there are some regulations involved to make sure it's safe, so the government is involved somewhere. So somewhere in that entire process, my money somehow gets translated to the American government receiving some money, right? But I don't want to support them because they support the police, and from what I hear from news reports, the police really don't like colored people. So that means in turn, if I buy Doritos, then I am indirectly racist. Like, do you see how far I needed to stretch to make this argument work? And you can apply this logic to just about anything you can think of. And next up he talks about a TOS that was on their website, but then it was removed and people managed to capture screenshots of it. What this TOS claims though is that all your personal information, your real name, physical address, all that is going to be forwarded to the Russian government. Well, first of all, if it was deleted, is it really even worth talking about at that point? And secondly, if the Russian government really wanted all that information, all they had to do was Google it. I mean, Facebook has been doing this for years, and that's besides the point of the actual serious question of where they would even get that information if you don't enter it yourself. And if you did enter it yourself, congratulations. And I mean, shit, he even talks about the IP address. I mean, like, every game that is online has your IP address. If they don't have your IP address, how in the Lord's name are they gonna connect you to the game? And now he moves on to part 5 of the theme. But before I move on, I would like to go back and talk a bit about Tencent. So like he said, Tencent doesn't need an introduction, and obviously he's implying that all of the publishers combined, including Tencent, they're all really shady, shitty, all that good stuff again. You can really hear the enthusiasm in my voice as this guy pulls out new arguments covered in shit for me to sniff. Anyway, take a look at this screenshot real quick. What you're seeing now are games that Tencent has investments in the esports section. Just take a look at some of these names real quick. These aren't small games. League of Legends, Call of Duty, Overwatch, Clash of Clans, Fortnite. If you play any of these games, then you are already indirectly supporting Tencent. And keep in mind, this is only in the esports section. God, I really hope he doesn't watch this video and look at the Overwatch gameplay. He's gonna fucking lose it when he notices I have a mythic Genji skin. And besides the esports section, there's obviously a lot more companies that Tencent does own or have investments in. And actually, I'm gonna read some of them for you right now. Digital Extremes, Riot Games, Turtle Rock Studios, Epic Games, From Software, Ubisoft, Voodoo, Bohemian Interactive. And on this list in total there are 45 companies that Tencent has investments in. I'll leave the Wikipedia link in the description if you're curious about it. But sweet Jesus, that is a lot of companies that you are not allowed to buy from anymore. I mean shit, they own 16% of From Software, meaning if you have bought Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, Bloodborne, Sekiro or Elden Ring, you have already supported Tencent. How fucking dare you support oppression, you monkey. But it doesn't quite stop right there. So I couldn't help but think, since this guy is preaching, oh, you shouldn't support this game because this company invests in it, and I thought to myself, well, what games can we play, since this guy is obviously the gold standard of what we should follow in gaming. So I went to take a look at his channel and, oh, what's this? Destiny 2? Well, I mean, yeah, it's a pretty average game. I think you can have a lot of fun with it if you really invest time with it. Wait, what's this? Bungie gets $100 million investment from Chinese gaming company NetEase? What? A pro-Chinese company investing in a game he dares to play? And not only play, but also make and upload videos about it on YouTube, supporting the game even more. Wow, dude, I really looked up to you, you know. I didn't think that you, of all people, would support a Chinese company. Man, I just feel so disappointed right now. But we've got some fresh new tires, so let's get back on track and, well, praise for impact. Like I said, we're going into part 5 of the theme. So now he goes into more detail about the game, where it takes place, the main character, what you're doing, and he's really doing a good job of getting me hyped. Like, I can't wait to get my hands on this. But then he wakes me from my beautiful dream and he just presses a double-barrel shotgun in my face, pulling both triggers, and god damn was I not expecting this. He goes on to say that there are a lot of USSR stuff in the game, a lot of flags, memorabilia. They basically try to get you as immersed as possible. And I mean, first up, no shit, you're playing a game taking place in Russia in 1955. Were you expecting the goddamn pride flag to be everywhere? And you know, I've got this feeling that there might be Russian people in the game as well, you know, just a hunch. But don't go and tell this guy that. He's claiming that there is a thin line between using this for world building and then outright praising it. However, there are several reasons why this line has been crossed. I am very excited to hear what these reasons are. Surely they don't have any flaws to them. Besides the fact that you're in Russia and a lot of things are destroyed, there's clearly a lot of shit that has went wrong. And it just doesn't look like the place you would want to visit or even see in your life. But okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Maybe he has some genuinely good reasons for believing this. He mentions a Russian press where a party was held, and it was in the theme of the USSR, Soviet Union style, you know. There's a lot of red, a lot of text that's like glory to communism, glory to the Soviet Union. And then he brings up a few tweets that also seem to criticize this party. Apparently it's wrong for game developers to create a party and make their game the theme of the party. Like, I mean, what can I say that doesn't directly insult this guy? It's a game set in the USSR Obviously, a lot of the game is gonna be centered around the USSR. But alright, he continues and he talks about games that are examples of how you can do the USSR in gaming and still be respectful. I mean, yeah, that's definitely what this industry needs, more games that are the same. Fuck unique games that actually takes risks. But apart from that, I'm not gonna add a lot to this section either, because I want to focus on Atomic Heart and what this guy has to say about it. Now he moves on to part 6, the robots, and I can't help but feel this should have been put under the marketing section of the video, because it's essentially about how those female robots you've been seeing on all the advertisements of this game is very wrong. He says that they're using the sexuality of these robots in order to market the game and appeal it to neckbeards, as he calls them. Now, first up, what I want to say is that they are fucking robots. They are not real people. And this guy is talking about how wrong it is to use sexualization in order to market something. And then he goes on and calls them lesbians, like, dude, they're fucking robots. They're not real people. How the hell do you know they are lesbians? In the clip he shows, they're just doing this normal dance. They look like they're friends at most, not sexual partners. I am so baffled by this statement. How on earth did you get to the conclusion about these two robots being lesbian just because they're both female and interact with each other? But to get back on topic, using sexuality and certain aspects of women, if you know what I mean, it's perfectly fine to advertise like this if you're asking me, and in my opinion, they didn't really go that far with the marketing. Fans are really the ones that went a bit overboard with them. It's basically the same as what happened with Lady Demetrist from Resident Evil Village. The game drops a trailer, there's a female in it, and people just go absolutely nuts about it. And I mean, it's effective. He even says in the video that there's a lot more attention on these robots. Same with Resident Evil. They started showing Lady D in a lot of the marketing for the game, and it gained a lot of attention that way. The same is happening here again. They're using females to market the game, and it's not really that over-sexualized. Really, the only thing you can try and make an argument out of is how they look. And yeah, it is weird how other people, YouTubers specifically, make these weird shorts about them, but that's on the YouTube creators, that's not on the game developer. And I mean, hell, you can even make the same argument for something like Nier Automata or Final Fantasy VII Remake. Like, yeah, those developers definitely knew what they were doing when they made 2B and Tifa. I mean, holy shit, 2B actually has more polygons in her ass than the amount of polygons that were used to make the very first games. People like sexy women. I don't see anything wrong with that. It's not like they're real people. They're programming. They are in-game characters. If an artist wants to make their art look sexy, why not? I don't get all these rules that people are suddenly implementing to limit one's imagination. This is yet again another very unhealthy way to look at and judge other things. But I digress. This dude even went so far as to show a law that is against over-sexualization of characters in advertisements, and that showing superiority of one gender against another is a no-go. I don't know what the fuck this has to do with Atomic Heart. Literally everything he said in that section had nothing to do with the game, nor its advertisements. He then briefly mentions a rumored 6-hour sex scene with these robots that was cut from the game. And first of all, holy shit, why would you cut that from the game? Put that back in. And secondly, these are rumors, why would you believe them? Did you actually think that there was a normal human being sitting there like, yeah, there should really be a 6-hour sex scene with robots in this game? Far be it from me to judge how you watch porn, but down here on planet Earth we usually don't spend 6 hours shaking hands with the milkman. And after all that, thank God we get to part 7, the conclusion. My suffering has come to an end. Now he just quickly goes over what he said in the video and that you should cancel your pre-order if you have one. And yet again, credit where credit's due, he mentions that you shouldn't even be pre-ordering games in this day and age. And I completely agree with him. There's no reason for you to make a bet on something that may or may not come through, may or may not live up to your expectations, may or may not be a finished product at launch. But then he immediately goes and loses all that credit immediately by telling you to go to the Steam page of the game and report it for breaching the laws of your country. I am pretty sure that is bordering on illegal behavior. But I'm not well versed in law, so I'm just gonna say it was a completely shitty idea to put this in your video. But he adds another bit of advice that if Atomic Heart comes out, then you should just go and play another game. And to that I say, no, and you should too. Don't let other people tell you when and where to spend your money. If you're like me and you wanna buy Atomic Heart because it looks like a good game, then buy it. If you don't want to buy the game for any reason at all, then feel free not to buy it. No one is forcing you to. And like I said multiple times throughout the video, this is a very unhealthy way to look at any product. In fact, I would go as far as to call this toxic behavior. Because on one hand, he's sabotaging the investors of this game, the higher ups that are gonna make a lot of money from this, of course. But at the same time, now you're also screwing over the developers, the people who are actually on the front lines and working hard to make this game happen. People who have sacrificed time and effort to see this dream of theirs come true. And even on top of that, the developers probably don't even share the views that you're talking about in this video. They're not pro-communism. And yet again, the same thing happened to Hogwarts Legacy. It got boycotted. People didn't want other people to buy the game because money would eventually end up in J.K. Rowling's pocket. And because of their hatred for J.K. Rowling, some of the developers would have suffered were the game not a massive success. And just some final thoughts from me at the end of this video. I really think that he is unfairly judging the Russian civilians, people who are also against this war going on, and he's failing to separate them from the Russian politicians who actually want the war. I mean, there are actually people arrested in Russia for speaking out against the war. They lost their freedom because they disagree with what is happening. The people that do that has definitely done more to help Ukraine than this video has. But anyway, I hope you liked listening to my opinions, my thoughts on this video. Let me know what you think in the comments. I definitely won't be removing any. Just be nice and share your opinion, whatever it may be. And thanks for making it to the end of the video. I hope you have a good one.